Hey, what's going on, guys? Alex here. I am at Ridge Motorsports Park outside of Seattle, and today we have the all-new 2024 Kawasaki Ninja ZX-6R. Bunch of changes for this year with this bike. A little bit of a mild refresh, not so much an all-new bike, but we're going to get it out on the track, go over everything that's new with this all-new model. Let's go hit it. Get it started up here. Obviously, we are on Pirelli slicks and using tire warmers today. Can't really speak to the stock tires on this bike. It does come with new tires this year, and I'll go over all that information when I'm kind of walking around the bike. But for now, we're gonna go out on the racetrack. And we're doing a little sunset session today, which is really cool. Kawasaki flew me out here to ride tomorrow, but in typical Washington fashion, it is supposed to rain all day tomorrow, and this track is probably going to be pretty wet. So Kawasaki was able to convince the track workers to stay late, and here we are doing a little bit of a sunset track ride on the all-new ZX-6R. This is my first time riding this track. I've done probably like 5 or 6 laps so far, so really still learning the layout. Yeah, but it seems to be a lot of fun. Really technical track, good amount of elevation change, a lot of blind corners, and some pretty tight corners too. And a few decent straightaways, which is perfect for a 636cc inline 4 like this. This bike is built to race. Now this bike is really exciting to me because Kawi is still pouring their heart into the 600 class super sport bike, and nobody else is. I own a 600. It's my personal track day weapon of choice. Kawasaki is still holding true to the 600 class, and they're continuing to bring out changes, which is pretty awesome. Now, like I said at the start, this is not an all-new ZX-6R. It's a mild refresh, but there are a good amount of changes. And a good bit of those changes are found in the engine, and I'm gonna go through all that. But really the biggest change I think everyone needs to know about is this 4.3-inch TFT screen you see in front of me. Very similar looking screen. In fact, it's probably the same exact display they use in some other bikes, like the ZX-4RR I reviewed not too long ago. But not only does that display look good, but it allows you to cycle through the new traction control and the new rider modes, which is one of the big steps forward in this bike. I wouldn't say that this bike has all the tech bits on it that would check all the boxes for a tech nerd like me, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. Right now I've got the power in road mode, which is kind of the middle setting. There's a rain, road, and sport mode, and there's also a rider mode, which allows you to customize between full and low power modes, and 3 different traction control settings, the 4th being traction control fully off. And not everybody wants traction control on their track bike, but for me, someone that doesn't race, someone that's just doing track days for fun, traction control is nice to have, and when it kicks in and saves your butt, you're really thankful for it. And I'm not trying to record lap times, so I don't care if it slows me down a little bit. It's keeping me safe. The fact that you can turn on some traction nannies and know in the back of your mind that you're a little safer, that always pushes me to ride a little harder. Which is what track days are all about. god. That part of the track is so fun. Super fast uphill turn, and you flick it over to the right side pretty quick. Anyway, right off the bat, a lot of fun. How could you not have fun on a 600cc inline 4 on a racetrack? It's what it's built to do. All right, let's take a look at everything new with this bike for this year, and we'll start off with the styling. This is an all-new design, all-new bodywork, and I think it looks pretty good. It's definitely more aggressive looking than the outgoing model. It sort of matches the styling a little closer on the ZX-10, and overall, it's a really good look. This is the KRT edition in the classic black, green, and red, but this bike also comes in matte black and a pretty cool looking white, red, and gray color combo as well. You've got new LED headlights, LED turn signals around at the rear, and overall I think it's a pretty good look. But the other piece that's really been improved is the screen up here. This is now a 4.3-inch color TFT screen, and not only does this look really good, it's really easy to see out in all lighting conditions, but it also does enable some new features, which we'll get to in a little bit. This engine is pretty much the same as what you'd find in last year's model. It's still a 636cc inline 4-cylinder, but there's been some minor changes made for this year. So there's new camshaft profiles, there's slightly different intake funnel shape, the exhaust has also been slightly tweaked, there's a new shape to it, and there's a new O2 sensor placement. Most of these changes are due to emissions in Euro 5. They needed to tweak the engine to be able to keep selling it, but Kawasaki says that a lot of these changes also lead to better low-end performance, which is great for street riders, and let's be honest, that's where most of these ZX-6Rs are going to live. I'm out here at the racetrack today. It's a great track bike, but most customers are probably never going to take this bike to the track. You now have a black finish on the exhaust, and it's okay looking. I don't think this is an amazing looking exhaust though. And then looking up front, the brake system is a little different compared to last year's too. So 310mm discs, but they're now completely round discs instead of the pedals type or the wave type that Kawasaki has been known to use before. You can get some better heat dissipation out of a round rotor like this. You do save a little bit of weight with the old wave style, but really just for looks, the modern super bikes are using the fully round rotors, so that's what you get on the ZX-6R now. And lastly, what's new are the tires. This now comes with Pirelli Diablo Rosso 4 tires. These are not those, these are slicks that we were running on the track, but those are the new tires you're going to get on the bike this year. All right, let's talk about technology. That's one of the areas Kawasaki improved this bike for this year, and it's not a major improvement, not a huge step up, but sort of a minor tweak. So let's walk over to the dash here and I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. So previously this bike had power modes and traction control, which it still does, but it now has integrated rider modes thanks to this new TFT screen. So if we look here, I will scroll all the way to the top, which is our sport mode. Sport mode is going to put you in full power mode, but the least traction control intervention, so traction control 1. Then you go into road mode, which is still full power, but a little more traction control level 2. And then you go into rain mode, which is going to be the most traction control and low power. And lastly, you have a rider mode, which is pretty much the setup we had before. So you can switch your power between full and low, and you can also do your traction control in the 3 different settings or go completely off. So that's what it had before. Now you have those 3 preset riding modes, so it just makes it a little more intuitive to switch on the fly. This does have a quick shifter. It only works on upshifts, not downshifts, but it does work very well. And also it has KIBS, which is Kawasaki's ABS system. It's a more advanced ABS system than a super basic one, but this bike doesn't have a 6-axis IMU. So the
ABS is using wheel speed sensors and, like throttle position and different readings from the ECU basically to adjust the ABS. So it's not super advanced. And same thing with like the traction control, it's not using an IMU to collect any data and make adjustments, but still some good tech there. And part of the reason Kawasaki didn't put a 6-axis IMU on this bike is to help keep the costs down. So yeah, it would have been cool to see a little more tech, but at least as a track bike, I mean, I kind of like the simplicity of not having that much to mess around with, but I am a tech nerd, and on a street bike, I'd love to see a little more tech, and that's an area where this bike is going to spend a lot of time. Lastly, going into the screen, if we hold both buttons here, you can go into your vehicle settings, change like your shift light and stuff, but it also has Bluetooth, so you can connect to the Rideology app, get like your vehicle info, track some of your rides. This doesn't have a lap timer, interestingly enough, and the ZX-4RR that I reviewed a couple months ago did have a lap timer and looked like a very similar screen, so little interesting that you don't have the lap timer on this bike. These are 41mm Showa inverted forks. They're fully adjustable, so you have preload over here on the left side, and then rebound and compression over here on the right side. And then in the back, an adjustable rear shock with a piggyback reservoir and a bright green Kawasaki shock. And as far as some of the other specs go, you're looking at a 4.5-gallon fuel tank. Seat height is 32.7 inches, so not crazy high, and weight is 436, almost 437 pounds with ABS, or about 432 pounds if you go for the non-ABS model. And speaking on ABS versus non-ABS for a sec, many times in the past Kawasaki has been a little weird with the model offerings. You had to get certain colors to get ABS, certain colors to get non-ABS. This year, all 3 colors come in ABS or non-ABS, so you can get exactly the model you want.
I know I keep coming back to the rider aids, but that's really the biggest deal with this new bike, and especially now when it's cooling off a little, surface temp of the track is dropping pretty quickly, visibility's going down, and I'm wearing a tinted visor. I am so glad I have all that stuff. This tank is so slippery. I forget how much of a difference tank grips make, because I run tank grips on my bikes. Then you get on a racetrack without tank grips, and man am I sliding around on this tank. For me, the 600 is the perfect track bike. If I were racing, I'd probably want smaller displacement, like a 400. That new ZX-4RR or a Ninja 400 would be what I want to race on. But for track days, they feel a little too slow for me. Not exciting enough. And a 600 feels like a proper race tool, not a training tool like those 400s feel like sometimes. You gotta be more careful on a 600. You can't just snap the throttle wide open or you're gonna have a bad day. For me, a 600 feels like it's enough bike where you really gotta respect it. And it takes a lot of work to push this bike around. And I love leader bikes too, but I like them better on the street. This corner's really hard. Can't figure out whether to be in first or second there. I don't love shifting into first if I don't have to. Second feels good, I'm just not very good at it. Really fun bike. If you want a new 600, this is the one to get. Don't even bother looking at the other ones. I really hope this bike sells well, because I don't want this class to completely die. And hopefully if it sells well enough, the other brands will get back on board. And this is already for sale. According to Kawasaki, it's been selling pretty well. So that is really good to hear. Hopefully this bike will continue to sell well, and maybe in a couple years we'll see an all-new bike. Could they have done more? Absolutely. This bike doesn't have any kind of like slide control or lift control or torque control, so there's some rider aids that they could have added. They also could have made the quick shifter work not just for upshifts but also for downshifts. But other than that, there's not much to complain about with this bike. Wish I had a little more time to spend with this bike. Unfortunately, as you can see, the weather's starting to roll in. So at least got a few sessions in today as the sun was going down, and it was definitely enough to get a feel for this bike. So there you have it.
Now, as far as pricing goes, it starts at $11,299. That's for the non-ABS model. If you want ABS, it starts at $12,299. So ABS is a $1,000 add-on, and the KRT edition is the same price as all the other colors. So no matter which color you get, pricing is identical. They're on sale now already, so you can go to your dealership and pick one of these up. And Kawasaki said they are selling incredibly well, which is really cool to see, because like I've been saying, the 600 class is dying, or it has been dying for many years, and it's cool to see that a new bike like this comes out and people are excited about it and going and spending their money on it. Well, there you have it, full review and first look of the all-new 2024 Kawasaki ZX-6R. I had a ton of fun on this bike. If you're looking for a 600, this is definitely the one to get. This is a great bike. So yeah, if you're shopping for a 600, look no further than this ZX-6R. This new one's pretty great. They made some good improvements, and hopefully they will continue to do so the next couple years, and eventually we'll get a fully refreshed ZX-6R. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to head on over to alltfl.com. Catch you in the next video.